Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, actually, children over the age of 18, just so you know, that's the only age you can get into with a mortgage. But anyway, it's your favorite couple, your favorite LOs. I'm Tez, and this is Travis. And on today's edition of Terminology Tuesday, we're going to talk about two terms in regards to the mortgage process that come later down the line. One's called recast, and the other one's called refinance. So go ahead, grab that pen and a piece of paper and your favorite beverage, and we'll be back in a second to break down the two terms. See you in a few. All right, folks, welcome back. And as we said in the intro, we're going to be talking about two terms with the mortgage process called recast and refinance. So I'm going to go ahead and punt it over to Travis. Travis, you start us off first. Tell the folks, because it's not a term that we hear often, and it only gets brought up low key when we bring it up. So let the people know what exactly is a recast and how it could be beneficial to them in with their mortgage.
Absolutely, Tess. Actually, I had this week one of the first times in my career that I had it brought up to me by a client. So I mean, situation was in that is that we're fighting for business, right? Always fighting for business, and we had a LO that was, I mean, intelligently talking about a recast, and the only thing that I ran into is that he's kind of trying to make it seem like it's some sort of special sauce. Like there's a lot of places that don't do them. They are getting more and more common. So I mean, 5, 6, 7 years ago, like you didn't hear about these a lot. A recast is quite simply adding money to the principal and re-amortizing the loan for what's left of those terms. The terms do not change. Um, Most of your servicers will require that there's a certain amount of a payment must be made to qualify you for a recast. I've seen some of the lenders that we work with as brokers, I mean, we're working with sometimes 20, 30, 40 lenders. I've seen those terms as low as $5,000 and I've seen them as high as $10,000. But essentially, if we come across a situation where it might make sense to keep your terms, they're a fantastic option. You always want to make sure that you have that option should that be something you want to do down the road, because not every loan is going to come with that option. So work with your loan officer, make sure that you have that option. A great example of when people would use a recast is when they were to come into some money and they want to make sure that they're reducing that principal amount and those monthly payments. Okay, so for example, a client who is purchasing a new primary residence who will be selling their current primary residence maybe after close, Tez. Let's just say they get 60, 70, $80,000. They still qualify for their new home with the old home, but they want to make that payment lower. The only way to truly do that is to recast or re-amortize that loan. So they would make their principal reduction payment of 80,000 in that situation. Most of your servicers will charge a small fee. I've seen it between $100 and $500. But the most important thing is that it then re-amortizes the payment moving forward with no changes to the loan terms. Okay, because if you just wanted to send a check in that situation for $80,000, that mortgage company could just say, "Hey, you don't owe us anything for the next however many months," right?
Right.
Obviously, if you keep paying, you're going to get ahead of the interest, and there's other benefits to that. But the recast is a fantastic option for those of you that are looking to lower that monthly payment. And let's just say the market isn't always conducive for a refinance. You're in a pretty good loan considering what you would be if it was time for a refinance. So I feel like that's only fitting that you have the opportunity to tell us what exactly is a refinance.
All right, but before I get into that, folks, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna throw a question back at them because some of you may not know this word. Travis, break down to them real quick. Take about 15 seconds what re-amortizing is, because I'm sure we threw that word out there and we haven't really broke it down. So just so the folks know what it means to re-amortize a loan.
Yeah, so basically, re-amortizing means that we're going to take the principal that's remaining and we're going to spread that number out over whatever your remaining term is. So if you owed $200,000 after your principal reduction and you had 25 years left, that $200,000 is then paid at that interest rate that you originally had over the course of that 25 years. Essentially, it allows you to spread that payment out. You're still going to pay off that loan when you would otherwise pay that off. But most importantly, it lowers that monthly payment. So that's a reamortization.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, because when you were saying it, I was like, I don't think we ever discussed what the amortization stuff was for the folks. So let me just ask him that question. But I'll go ahead and transition into the next topic and the last term that we're going to talk about today. And that's a refinance. And ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to refinancing, basically you're taking your current mortgage and you're trading it in for a new one, right? So all you're doing is what you currently own on your property. You're going to have basically a new principal and a different interest rate, when you get that new mortgage that you're refinancing, right? So you're just basically taking what you currently owe with your current mortgage, whatever the principal amount is. And there's some refinances where we can add, roll in closing costs. So that might change the principal a little bit. But basically what you're doing is you're getting a better term and or better interest rate for the current mortgage that you have. And on average, most folks like refinance every 5 to 7 years. So it's something that's common that I was actually shocked recently that most people don't want to do. Every time I talk to folks about when they originally purchased the house, they're so gung ho about interest rates, but I'm like, hey, there's this thing called refinancing, right? So basically, what it is you take that original loan and you trade it in for a new one at a better term and a better rate. And then they're also, that the new loan pays off the old one. Okay, so that way you won't have you don't have to worry about, hey, well, I got two loans up. No, when you refinance, you're paying off the old one and you're getting a new one. There are a couple of different refinance options. We won't break them down right now, but just so you folks know, one's called a rate and term, which I kind of alluded to that, either a better rate or a better term. And the other one is called a cash out refinance, where we take some equity out of the property, but we'll break those down into detail in another video. But refinancing is just that. Take an old loan, get a new loan, pay off the old loan. Now you have a new loan with some better terms. So I think I kind of broke that down pretty simple. I mean, is there anything that you want to add to it? Because it's not too much with refinancing that people need to really dig
No, I
deep
mean,
in.
it was a great job. I think the most important piece to drive home is that if you are thinking of a recast, you should probably talk to a licensed loan officer. And sometimes I've had people that have come to me and said, like, hey, I have a really good interest rate. I don't really think I need to recast or to refinance. Sometimes that's not the case when someone looks at it, right? And one of the most important things that I think it says you hit on is like the refinance is built there to benefit you. The recast is built there to benefit you.
Mhm.
So even in times when the market is up, I've had some people that have had to take 3% mortgages and refinance them into 7% mortgages because they have to do something like a cash out, right? So interest rates are going to fluctuate. The most important thing is putting your client in the best possible position. I had a client that came to me a couple months back that had some medical bills that had gotten out of hand. We were able to decrease their monthly outlay by over $800, although we took the mortgage from 3% to 7%. So never just write it off. There's always a reason to talk to somebody and get that special scenario looked at.
No, awesome. But I think that will wrap us up for this edition, ladies and gentlemen. If you found this information useful, by all means, hit that like button, hit the subscribe, as well as leave some comments down below. With that being said, I'm Tez, and that's Travis. We're your favorite old LOs. Excuse me, I was getting tongue tied. We're your favorite LOs. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, see ya.